We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Beis Amud Aleph in Mesechet Kesubos. This is Kesubos Daf 32a. The Gemara here continues, V'kai molon de'eno loka mishalim. Haven't we established that you can't get malchus and also pay? Again, this is a question on our Mishnah. The Mishnah has all of these cases of onus where there should also be malchus. Let's say, for example, the person rapes his sister. So in that case, there should be malchus, as it says in Mesechet Malchus. So why is the person also paying the fine? Why is he also paying the kanas? And so the Gemara answers, Amar Ula says, Lo kash, it's not difficult. Kan biachoso nara. In one case, we're talking about a situation of his sister who is a nara, and kan biachoso bogeris. In the other case, we're talking about his sister who is a bogeris. A bogeris is like a full adult. Nara is like the stage, the 6 months in between being a ketana, being a minor, and a bogeris. Rashi over here explains. Masnisin bachoso nara. Our Mishnah is talking about a situation where she is a nara. The ika knas, it's only by a situation of onus of a nara that there is a fine, that there is a knas payment. Usvira le demamona mishalim v'lolak. And our Mishnah is going to hold, according to Ula, that you're going to pay money and not get malchus. In other words, you can't get both, but what are you going to do instead? Which one are you going to have? The person is going to have to pay the fine and not get malchus. V'ahid makos b'bogeres de'in lo knas. And the case over there in Makos where it says you get malchus, that's talking about a situation of a bogeris where she is already a full adult, and therefore there is no knas, and therefore there's going to be the punishment of malchus. And so the Gemara continues. If that's the case, again, according to Ula, there's a distinction between achoso nara and achoso bogeris, and the Mishnah in Makos is talking about a bogeris. But achoso bogeris nami, but even by his sister who's a bogeris, there is some payments of money. Ha'ika boshes upagam, isn't there the payment of boshes? The person has humiliated her, it's a payment of embarrassment. And also pagam, there are damages in that case that the person has to pay. Rashi over here says, boshes upagam, degabe knasu devina nara. The halacha of knas, the halacha that it needs to be a nara is only by a knas. Avol boshes mamonahu, but the payment of boshes, that's considered mamon. That's not considered a fine. That's considered a payment for some kind of damage that was inflicted. In this case, the embarrassment. Upagam, and then there's also the general pagam, the fact that she was raped. Ki'ilu hi shifcha. We evaluate. Let's say you had a shifcha, nimkeres bashuk, who gets sold on the marketplace. So kama pichsami damel hasil eved sheyesh l'rabo koras ruach himenu. So how much less would she be worth after being raped on the marketplace? Let's say a person will want to purchase her in order to marry her off to, let's say, a master has an eved that he likes and he wants to give him a wife. So how much less would she be worth after the onus? You have to pay her that. So again, that payment is also by a bogeris. So there are payments of money, even if you're talking about a bogeris where there's no knas. There are payments of money. So how could it say in that Mishnah that there's a fine if again there's a halacha eno loka mishalim? You can't get malchus and also have to pay money. And so to that the Gemara answers b'shota. We're talking about a woman who is a shota. She is an imbecile. Rashi over here says b'shota she'ein la boshes. There is no boshes. She's not ashamed at what happened. V'damim limchor b'shoknami ein la. So she's not going to get sold on the marketplace. Nobody's going to buy a shota. And therefore, again, we're talking in Mesechet Malchus about a specific case where there is no monetary payment. But the Gemara still says v'yikat tzara, but there is still a monetary payment. What about the pain that you have to pay even if she's a shota? Rashi over here says v'yikat tzara dachi tnan masnisan amefata nosen boshes upagam ukanas mosif olav ha'ona shenosin esatzar. It says by rape there's also pain involved, and therefore you have to pay that as well. And so to that the Gemara answers the Mishnah in Makos is bimafuta. It's talking about where she was seduced, not where she was raped, and there is no pain payment. Rashi over here says bimafuta to ein latzar. There is no payment of tsar, of pain, in a situation of mafuta. We're going to say that later on in our parak. Pichos shebehen omros mafuta ein latzar. Again, that the mafuta has no tsar. There is no tsar payment. And so therefore, again, in the Mishnah in Makos, we're talking about a case where there are no payments of money whatsoever. But the Gemara says, once you're already saying that the Mishnah in Makos is talking about a situation of mafuta, of seduction, so afilotema choso nara, you could even say we're talking about a case over there where it's a sister who is a nara, who in theory she should be getting the kanas payment, but we're talking about biasoma mafuta. You could be talking about where she's an orphan and she was seduced, and in that case there is going to be no payment whatsoever. Rashi over here explains, biasoma sheknasa ubushta upagama shala. By yasoma, she's an orphan, she's going to get all of those payments. She would receive the kanas payment, she would receive the boshes, she would receive the pagam, umefuta, but in that case she was seduced. So kevon shakol shalah, the halacha is, since everything belongs to her anyway, ein kan chiyav mamon. So if she was seduced, you actually don't pay her any money. Because at the end of the day, she did it willingly. That's the idea of seduction. It's as if she was mochel, the monetary payment. So that's why in a situation of a yisoma mafuta, there is no monetary payment. That's why all there would be in terms of the punishment would be the lashes. And the Gemara continues, Alma, we see from the answer of Ula, that Kasavar Ula, that Ula holds. Anytime you have a situation where there are two possible punishments of mammon, of money, and of malchus and lashes, so which one do you get? Apparently you get the payment, you get the punishment of paying the money, you do not get the payment, the punishment of lashes. So Minole Ula, how does Ula know that this is true? How do you know that the punishment is the tashlumin and not the malchus? And to that the Gemara answers, Gamar mechovo bechavero. He learns that out from the case of a person who wounds his friend. Machova bechavero, just like a person who wounds his friend, to ika mamanu malchus. There's a potential punishment of money, and there's also a potential punishment of malchus. And the halach is memona mishali milka lo lucky. The halach is you have to pay the payment, but you do not get the lashes. Since you're paying, you don't get the lashes. So afkala hechad ika mamanu malchus. So too in any situation where you have the potential punishments of mammon and malchus, memona mishali milka lo lucky. The person is going to pay the payment, but is not going to get the malchus. That's where Ula learns that out. But the Gemara says, can you really learn it out from Chova Bechavero? Ma'ale Chova Bechavero shekain chayiv b'chamisha devarim. Chova Bechavero is unique because the person is chayiv in chamisha devarim, meaning to say you have over there nezek, tsar, ripoy, sheves, and boshes. There's all kinds of payments that have to be paid, and therefore maybe over there again the punishment is going to be the payment and not the malchus. But who says that is going to be the case, the situation by a case of ones? And Rashi over here explains, Kasavar Ula du'uki masnis and demakos bebogeres, because again Ula said that the mission of Makos is talking about a bogeres, she's an adult woman, and we don't say that the mission over here is talking where there was no warning for Malchus. That would have been another potential answer. So Shamat Mina, so what do you see from this answer of Ula? Apparently even if the person is warned for Malchus, still the punishment of payment is the one that the person is going to receive and not the Malchus. And where does he learn that out? So the Gemara said, Chova b'chaveru, you learn it out from the case of wounding one's friend. Ika malchus to lo yosef. There's malchus when a person hits. It says when we administer malchus in Bezdin, it says lo yosef. You can't add on any additional malchus. That is the lav that tells us you're not allowed to hit, a person's not allowed to hit his friend. But the halach is, what do you do over there? You don't get the malchus, you actually pay. And even if he was warned for the malchus, still we're going to say later on that he gets the tashlumin as the punishment. And the Gemara says, but maybe you'll say, when it comes to chova bechavero, it makes sense that you're going to have to pay money. It's stricter than malchus because there's other stringencies involved. Because again, when a person wounds his friend, there are 5 different things over there. There's nezek, tsar, ripoy, sheves, and boshes. You have 5 different kinds of payments. And so therefore, maybe you'll say, you can't learn out to our case over here, where we're talking about the onus, the case of onus, and the case of kanas. And the Gemara continues, V'im emona lakula. Now, if you're going to argue that nevertheless the punishment of money is going to be considered more lenient than lashes, and therefore if you're going to only pay money by chova b'chavero, so again, certainly you should only pay money by a case, let's say, of ones and mefata. But to that, the Gemara says, no, shekein hoter mechlolo bebezdin. When it comes to wounding, there still is a certain leniency in a case of wounding, because that's something that's actually allowed in Bezdin. Bezdin actually administers, they hit someone when they give lashes, and therefore, again, we could say that only chova b'chavero would get this leniency of paying money, but maybe when it comes to onus and mefata, maybe the person should really get lashes. You can't learn out one from the other. Rashi over here says, V'ima mona lakulu. V'im tomer, if you're going to say, Mammon kal min malchus, at the end of the day, paying money is more lenient than lashes. V'einzu teshuva sheishavnu. And you can't say this refutation that we said that by wounding there's chamisha devarim. On the contrary, the kol shekain bialma, you can actually make a kol shekain, you can make a kal v'chomer the other way. Ma'zeh shechomer lischaya b'chamisha devarim. If when you wound someone, which is so strict that there's chamisha devarim over there, nezek tzari poisheves and boshes, nidon bekala shebishnei chiyuvin, still you're going to say that they get the more lenient of the 2 punishments shebahen. So kal v'chomer l'shar chayvei mammon hakal, and certainly by other chayvei mammon, which seem to be more lenient, sheidonu b'mammon hakal, you should get the punishment of mammon, which is more lenient. So maybe you'll make that argument and say that no, on the contrary, we can't say this refutation, and we should be able to learn out, just like chova b'chavero, it's a punishment of money, so too, let's say by onus and mefata. But to that, the Gemara says, no, you can refute that argument, because ma'ala chova b'chavero shekein huter mechlolo bebezdin. When it comes to chova b'chavero, that's something that is allowed in Bezdin. You're not allowed to hit someone, but in Bezdin it's allowed. Denitin reshus lebezdin lahakoso. Bezdin has permission to give someone malchus. So tomer b'shar chayvei mammon, but take a look at other cases of chayvei mammon, kagon kanasta onus or mefata, for example. When it comes to onus and mefata, obviously shelo hutru mechlolo and bebezdin, those are not permitted in any form in Bezdin, and so therefore, again, it could be that only by chova b'chaver, which has this kind of a leniency that it's hutter mechlolo bebezdin. So there, maybe the punishment is going to be money. But when it comes to onus and mefata, maybe the punishment would be malchus. You can't necessarily learn one from the other. And so the Gemara continues, Ella, rather, Gomar me'edim zomin. Rather, Ula learns it out from the case of Edim Zomin. That's where he learns out that when you have a situation of malchus and mammon, the punishment is mammon. He learns out as follows. Ma Edim Zomin, just like by Edim Zomin, De'ika mammon u malchus, you can have a case by Edim Zomin. Let's say you have witnesses who were falsified. So the halach in general by Edim Zomin is, number one, you're going to get the punishment of kasher zamam. Whatever the Edim who were false attempted to do to the defendant, that's what's going to happen to them. But then there's a violation of a lav over there. There's also a punishment of malchus. And what's the halacha at the end? Memona mishalim milka lolaki. The halacha is that they pay money and they don't get the malchus. Since there's a potential of two punishments, which one do they get? They get the mammon. So af kol hecha diika mammon u malchus. So too in any situation, again, like our case over here, onus and mefata, if there's a situation of mammon u malchus, memona mishalim milka lolaki, they're going to pay the money and they're not going to get the malchus. And the Gemara says again, Mala Edim Zomin, you can refute this, because what is unique by Edim Zomin? Shekain Einon Srichim Hasra. It happens to be by all cases of punishments, you generally require a warning, but by Edim Zomin, there is no requirement of a warning over there, so maybe again, that's why it's different, and that's why there's a payment of money. V'imamona lekulahu, and if you're going to say, no, the punishment of money again is more lenient, and so therefore, that wouldn't be a good argument, because if Edim Zomin has a certain stringency, so big deal. So of course we're going to be lenient by onus and mefata, similar to what the Gemara said before, but then again, that we can come up with a leniency. Shekain lo asu ma'aser, when it comes to Edim Zomin, there is no action over there. They don't do anything other than speaking. Edim, they just testify in court. And so therefore, again, maybe that's why they have the punishment of mammon. It's no proof to the case of onus and mefata. And so the Gemara continues, Ella, rather, gomer mitarvayu. Learn it out from the two of them combined. In other words, learn it out from chova b'chavero and Edim Zomin combined. Ma hatzad hashavish behen. What is the common denominator between chova b'chavero and Edim Zomin? De'ika mammon u malchus, mamona, mishale, milka lo lucky. There's mammon and malchus, and the punishment is the money and not the malchus. Afkol eicha de'ika mammon u malchus, mamona, mishale, milka lo lucky. So too in any case where there's mammon and malchus, the punishment should be the mammon. Again, like our cases of onus and mefata. But the Gemara says, no, we can say that these two cases over here, of the case of Edim Zomin and the case of the Chova B'Chavero, they have a different common denominator, Shekain Yesh Bahen Sad Chomer, because there's something stringent about each of them. V'im Memona L'Kulu, and if you're going to say the punishment of money is actually a leniency, so we're looking for something more lenient about them, Shekain Yesh Bahen Sad Hakal, we found something lenient as well. You have found something about these cases that's stringent, something about these cases that's lenient, no matter which way you go over here, they are unique, and therefore you can't necessarily learn to our case, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Beis Amud Beis.